today it's all about batting scraps. We accumulate them, we put them in bags, and we put the bags with the bags, and before you know it, we have an avalanche. It makes it so much easier when they're nice and organized. And that's what today's episode's all about. You'll save a ton of space, you'll be prepared for projects, and best of all, you'll save money in the long run. So stick with me and I'll show you how to do it. Hi there, I'm Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts. I give you tips, tricks, and strategies to help you make the quilt that you want to make. So when you're making quilts, no matter how careful you are to use up all your fabric scraps, you're going to end up with batting scraps. Part of it is just the standard sizes that batting comes in, but you've always got to make your batting a little bit bigger than your quilt. So you've always got these pieces that come off the outsides. We're going to do something with the big pieces, we're going to do something with the mid-sized pieces, and then we're going to do something with the little small pieces. I mostly use just one type of batting, but I get a lot of bags of batting scraps from friends because they know I make charity quilts. All of these pieces I am going to sort into piles of like batting. I want my 100% cottons together, my poly blends together, and my poly together. Anything of unknown origin, I put in a fourth pile and I'll just use them for something else. It's important to put like types of batting together because different types of batting shrink at different rates. You can buy batting by the yard or buy a pre-cut size. Batting on the roll comes in 3 widths, 96, 108, and 120 inches. And when we put our quilt on top, once we trim off, we get these long pieces of scrap on the side. So, taking a pile of all one type of batting, you sort your pieces with all the long skinny ones together. It's amazing how fast these scraps can accumulate over time. What we are going to do is take 2 pieces of equal length and splice them together. Then we are going to add to this piece till we get the size that we want. So as usual, start with the end in mind. What size batting are you trying to make? Are you going to make a lap size? Are you going to make a baby size? Or are you going to make a twin? I don't recommend using this method for anything larger just because it gets unruly. Find the pieces with similar length. Make sure the right sides are up. Now, how do you tell the right side? Most cotton or poly blend cotton has been needle punched, and that gives it a soft, smooth surface for the top of your quilt. So we're going to take our 2 pieces, make sure that they are flat, and when they're flat, then we are going to pull one over top of the other just enough so that the whole piece is covering the other piece. What we're going to do here is called double cutting. Double cutting is used in other trades like wallpapering, any trade where you're wanting 2 pieces of like material butting up against one another and you want a seamless edge. Then we are going to take our rotary cutter. You can use your ruler for this and make it totally straight, but it doesn't have to be. The key thing here is you want to be sure that you're going through both layers as you cut. Then we pull away the offcut from this side and we pull away the offcut from the bottom. These 2 pieces should line up perfectly together and lie flat. So before we move it from this place, we want to mark where the edges line up. Now we can do this simply with a couple of pieces of masking tape, or you can use it with a marker. You can sew these together by hand with a simple whip stitch, but I prefer to do it with my sewing machine. Now when I first started doing it, I did it with a zigzag. But I've been testing out other stitches on my machine lately, and I find that I like the results. The running stitch better. The downside is it's slow. Now thread. Cotton is fine to use on batting that you know that is 100% cotton. For the poly blends and the other types, I would use polyester thread. And simply stitch along the seam with this little notch on your presser foot going down the middle. And you're done. Now just splice as many pieces together as you need to get the size of batting that you need. You might, as you're splicing them together, find that you need a length on the bottom. but you also might need to splice two lengths together. It's all good as long as it lies flat. And don't worry about small misses. It happens. Okay, so what do we do with the medium pieces? I like to keep some standard size batting pieces on hand for projects that I do. I regularly give pillows as hostess gifts. They're fast, they're easy, they don't involve the time investment of a quilt. They're also very popular with the people that I give them to. I like to also have these on hand when I want to practice free motion quilting. Not only are they great to practice and experiment on, they're also great to keep as reference for future projects. And I regularly do quilt as you go. This is a double bonus as you use up fabric scraps as well as your batting scraps. Just remember to only combine blocks which have the same batting. I also like to make postcards. These are fast birthday cards or Christmas cards or thank you notes. There's lots of other things you do. You might make placemats or mug rugs or coasters. Use it as a duster at the end of your mop. There's sanitary pads. Just do a quick search on Etsy. There's tons of patterns to choose from. Or perhaps bunting. I didn't get it done for this Halloween, maybe in 2020. There's people that use these to pad between their china while it's in storage. You can use it for your Christmas ornaments, basically anything that's breakable. So decide on what your standard sizes are going to be. My large pillow is 18 by 18, and I make the batting just a little bit larger. If you don't have a piece large enough, just splice smaller pieces together, just like we did with our large big strips. This is where I use up all my batting of unknown origin. Then make yourself a handy dandy tray to keep them all organized. I made this one out of foam board. And if you haven't seen my episode on making a foam board tray, I will put the connection up here. Now we're down to the small pieces. You are always going to have pieces like this, so what do you do with them? If they're large enough, I will cut them into 2.5-inch squares, and I'll use them as dusters. I keep some around my desk, I keep some around my sewing table, and it just picks up that dust that's everywhere. And I've heard that some people use these as makeup pads. But what I use them for the most is stuffing. If you've seen my episode on the English paper piece soccer ball, you know how much of these little pieces can be used up inside a stuffed article. It sometimes reminds me of baking pasta, these long thin strings, but you just go down and just make random cuts. It doesn't need to be even, it doesn't need to be straight, and just keep going. It's super easy to make your own pillows out of interfacing that you serge around the edges and then you stuff with all your batting scraps. A win-win. If you'd like to see a tutorial on these stuffed pillows, just mention that in the comments below. Now, one last note. After you cut up your batting, your cutting board is going to look like it's been to war with a small kitten. So there's 3 steps to cleaning it up. My first one is just to take a sharp-edged something, run over it, and try and remove as much of the batting threads as possible. Then as a second step, I go over it with a lint brush and I remove more. And then as a third step, I take this extra wide masking tape and I run it all over the surface. When you're sewing batting, it makes a ton of lint in your sewing machine, so make sure you clean it out afterwards. If you have any uses for batting that I haven't mentioned, put them in the comments below and share it with everyone. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. There's a bell beside the subscribe button, and if you hit that, YouTube will notify you when I make new videos. You can also find me on Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram at Just Get It Done Quilts. So take care, and I'll see you next time.